Hello everyone, my name is Val and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a special guest, Teacher Matt.
Hello everyone, my name is Teacher Matt. Some of you may know me. I also have a channel on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Of course. Today we decided to discuss the topic of teacher burnout because we think it's a crucial topic to talk about. We have to talk about. I don't think that many people talk enough about it because it impacts the way we teach our students. It impacts what happens in the classroom. It impacts our well-being, mental and physical well-being.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a topic that's not discussed enough, and a lot of people may feel ashamed or they don't really want to discuss it openly with people, and I think it's something that needs to be discussed. So when Val asked me to talk about this topic, I thought it was a great idea, and I think everyone who's watching this video can benefit from this conversation.
Yes, and also I just want to add that we both experienced the impact of it in our personal lives. So maybe like our experiences are going to help you guys to cope with the consequences of teacher burnout and help you in your teaching career and also in your daily life, because you know it affects us all at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, don't switch it off. We're gonna talk about it more.
All right, let's go.
Teacher burnout, in simple terms, is when teachers feel completely exhausted and overwhelmed due to a lot of stress in their job. It happens because teachers have too much work, not enough support, and difficult students. They may feel tired all the time, lose interest in teaching, and struggle to find motivation. Burnout makes teachers feel really tired and unhappy, affecting how well they can teach their students.
I think the signs and symptoms of teacher burnout are obvious if you're aware of them. For example, trouble sleeping, back pain, neck pain, being short with people, getting easily frustrated, waking up in the middle of the night for no reason, or waking up too early before your alarm for no reason. I think these are or could be signs that you're feeling teacher burnout, and many people may attribute them to other things in their lives, but in my opinion, if you're teaching a lot of hours, this could be the cause of this sort of thing.
Yes. And also like the general feeling of unhappiness. Sometimes like you may feel that everything is kind of okay, kind of all right. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but you are not happy with your life.
Yeah.
And these symptoms need to be recognized very quickly because they may lead to something very serious.
Exactly.
Like a depression.
Exactly.
So when you start feeling that you're not happy, you're not satisfied with what you're doing, this could be like a symptom of teacher burnout.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Another important symptom of teacher burnout would be lack of concentration. It happened to me before, like how we have to make lesson plans pretty much on a daily basis, create something new, and what happens very often, you stare at the screen of your computer and nothing comes to your mind. You can't concentrate. You just stare and stare and stare. you know, like I get a lot of praise for my PPTs because they're nice and beautiful, but I don't think people realize how much work I have put into it, because they don't always come out as smoothly as people might imagine. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, and yeah, sometimes it just takes hours for me to get concentrated and to start creating. You know, sometimes they say the start of something is the job half done, because it's the most difficult part.
Yeah, and I think, as you were saying, you know, creating these lessons, being creative is the hardest part. And
Yes.
when we're not feeling burned out, actually creating these lessons feels really easy. Like, it feels natural, it flows, you have a good idea immediately and you just jump right in and you get it all done in like 3 or 4 hours. But when you feel burned out, that process that you're expecting will take 3 hours might take 10 or something, and it's frustrating hours. It's not pleasurable, you know, as the creative process should be. And I know that me personally, like, I like making lessons.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoy it, and when I'm burned out, I don't enjoy it because I'm sitting there staring at the screen. I don't have any good ideas. And as you were saying, you know, starting it and having the idea is the hard, that's half of it. Once you have the idea, it just flows out of you. But when you feel burned out, that process doesn't happen the same way. And that can be really, really frustrating because you know what you're capable of doing and how long it should take, and then it doesn't take that long. It takes way, way longer, 3 or 4 times longer.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's you know, you can see this in contrast. For example, yeah, like as you said, when you are in this creative mode, everything is just kind of flying. You know, you do it very quickly, you feel good because you're creating something nice. But when you do it just because you have to, you know, because let's say you have a lesson tomorrow, or because maybe you have a demo tomorrow, then it becomes a torture.
Yeah. It's the zone, you know, you get into the zone.
Yes.
And when you don't have this teacher burnout, you can channel that zone really, really easily, and it comes to you naturally. When you feel burned out, you can't achieve that level of focus, and it makes the job so much harder and more frustrating.
Yeah,
so I know personally I've experienced this. Definitely.
Yeah, same here. So that's why, you know, it's important to recognize the symptoms and deal with them so you don't feel bad. So, because like, also, whatever you put into your products, whatever you put into your lessons, into your creations, transfers to your students, because, well, I believe that, you know, everything is transferable, everything has their own energy, and if you created something with some sort of negativity, I think it transfers.
Yeah, they can feel it during the lesson. And also when you create something that you feel proud of, that you were in a good headspace when you made, when you're delivering it to your students, you feel good. You feel satisfied with what you've created, and they can feel that. And also, it's probably just a better result anyway. Like, the preparation was like more, it went smoother, you know, so the students can feel that. So I definitely think that you need to be aware if you're burned out, and know what the signs and symptoms are, so you can deal with them and then better take care of yourself and prepare your lessons in a way that's just going to deliver a better product to your students, as well as maintain better mental health for yourself.
Agreed. I'd like to mention one more symptom, which I think is rather important. It's feeling depleted after work. You know, imagine you spend all day at school, you come back home to your family, to your children, and you're feeling completely exhausted to the point that you just want to lie down on your sofa and sleep. You don't want to do anything else. You know, you don't want to stay with your kids. You don't want to help your wife or husband, you know, and you feel totally exhausted. And it's not good. It's not good because, you know, your life is not just your school. Actually, your life starts when you come back home. Then you have to like help your family, help yourself, and evolve as a human being, you know?
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I think if your work is severely affecting your personal life, like with your children and your wife or husband, which should be the most important things in your life, right?
Yes.
This is a huge problem, and I think a lot of people, you know, may not attribute it to teacher burnout, you know, and I think that recognizing that is so important, so you can take the proper steps to have a healthier family life, you know, and take care of your family and yourself.
And also, you know, it may lead to irritation because, let's say, you get back home and somebody asks you to do something, you know, to do to run some errands or to do some house chores, and you can say, oh, I spent all day at work, I don't want to do this, you know, I'm too tired. But, you know, it's not really fair because your spouse may be too tired too, and your children have been waiting for you all day. So you cannot just forget about them just because you're tired. And then the big question that you start asking yourself is, why is this happening? Why am I ignoring my own family? Why am I ignoring the people who are closest to me? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah, and you'll make bad decisions, like start arguments and stuff that you immediately regret. You know, you maybe can't control your temper, or you feel frustrated, so something little could trigger you. And yeah, I mean, this is something that everyone's experienced in their life, and I think recognizing that and trying to, you know, attack it before it happens is crucial so that you can have a healthier life.
Yes. Teacher burnout happens when teachers feel extremely tired and overwhelmed because of many different things. Some of these things include having too much work to do and working for long hours, not getting enough help or support from their bosses or co-workers, dealing with difficult student behavior, feeling a lot of pressure from important tests, and not having enough time for their personal lives. All of these things can make teachers feel really exhausted and stressed out.
So I think, you know, being overworked in life can really cause people to feel fatigued. People are dealing with multiple things at their jobs. You know, there's lots of things that are going through your mind at your job, not just what you're doing at that moment, but things you need to prepare, things you need to do, and dealing with, you know, coworkers, clients, or in our case, students. It can be really, really exhausting. And I think a lot of times we have more things to do than we have the time to do them. And
Yes.
trying to plan that out in a way that doesn't cause you to feel burned out is a huge challenge.
That's right. And also, like, from the teacher perspective, you know, when you have something important the next day, let's say, like in China, for example, a lot of teachers have to grade a lot of papers on a daily basis, and they often have to stay up until like 9 or 10 in the evening after they come back home from work. This is what causes like major stress, for the teachers.
And being aware of having to do that while you're in the middle of class. So you're teaching something, doing something that you need to be focused on, but you know that for hours after you've finished actually teaching, there's a lot of other things you have to complete before you can switch off. And this sort of mental burden, I know personally it causes me anxiety, during classes and stuff, and when I'm preparing, that it's not just like a job where, you clock in and clock out, and when you're finished, you're done.
That's right.
The job continues in your mind for hours afterward, whether you're physically grading something or thinking of what you need to prepare for the next day, or maybe you have an open day or something else that's about to happen that you need to be thinking about. So there's a lot of things that could be going through your mind, which just cause a lot of anxiety. And it's not just the physical aspect of teaching, which can be exhausting, obviously, being in class, standing up for hours, but knowing that you need to be preparing many other things, it can cause a lot of stress.
Yes. And also, I can give a few examples. Actually, we both, when we managed teachers, newbie teachers had to give demos in front of us. And it's a very stressful experience for new teachers, especially when they have to do that in front of the adults, not the children. So some of them could not deal with that stress. Some of them just froze in the middle of the classroom. They couldn't utter a single word. They couldn't say anything, And another example would be teachers who would lose it in the classroom. Again, I know examples of teachers who were so overworked and so stressed out, they just walked away from the classroom in the middle of the class. And it's not really fair to the students, because students don't understand why you're doing what you're doing,
Yeah, they don't. The students are too young to really understand, that, like, the scope of your job. They see you come in, and for them, you're like a 40-minute or 1 hour part of their life. If you're teaching one class a week to them.
Yeah.
If you see them all day, maybe, they see you for 4 hours. They think you don't exist when you leave the classroom,
Yes.
And so they don't really understand the kind of pressure you're under. And a lot of times teachers will, they can get very frustrated in class toward the students. And this can get, it can be a little bit confusing for the kid. They don't understand, so I think that we all have to understand why we're feeling frustrated. And again, notice the signs and symptoms so that we don't let this happen. And we can be professional.
Exactly. Understanding is the first step, or even not even the first step, it's the key to dealing with it.
Yeah.
When teachers are burned out, it affects the quality of teaching. They may feel too exhausted and overwhelmed to plan engaging lessons or give students the attention they need. Teachers might struggle to be creative or find enthusiasm in their teaching, which can make the learning experience less enjoyable for students. Burnout also impacts the relationship between teachers and students. Teachers may have less patience and understanding, leading to strained interactions and a lack of connection. Students might sense that their teachers are not fully present or invested in their success, which can affect their motivation and engagement in the classroom. Overall, Classroom dynamics can suffer when burnout is present. It may feel tense or lack the positive energy that promotes a healthy learning environment. Students may pick up on the stress and fatigue of their teachers, which can affect their own well-being and willingness to participate in class activities.
I think actually you can clearly see this manifested even on a daily basis if you're teaching many classes in one day. I think the first class of the day, even though it might be the first time you're teaching that lesson plan in a year, or maybe it's the first time you're teaching that lesson plan ever, in my experience it actually tends to go more smoothly because I have more energy and I feel like it just goes more naturally. Because I'm not so tired in the beginning of the day. Generally I have coffee and I feel really good. By the third or fourth or fifth class, I can definitely feel that due to burnout and being tired, I don't approach the class with the same enthusiasm as I would. I try my best, but I feel like I'm putting it on, like I'm acting it out more, and that my interactions with the students, I'm not as enthusiastic and stuff like that. And I definitely think it's because of being burnt out, not just from that day, but from the previous days. You're tired, and it's building up inside you. And in the beginning of the day, I always feel like I have more energy to do the class in a more effective way. And I know that the interactions between me and the students, it's definitely affected because of fatigue. You just won't have the same ability to either be patient or be receptive to questions or misbehavior. Like if students are misbehaving in class, how you react to that and everything. It can really clearly be affected by where your mental attitude is and your physical, like if you're physically fatigued.
Of course. And also I just want to make a quick note here that due to teacher burnout, a lot of teachers, at least in the ESL community that we know of, pick up really bad habits. Some teachers start smoking, some teachers pick up drinking. And imagine if you have to teach a class, if you have, let's say, 5 or 6 classes when you're hungover. If the school finds out, you'll be fired. You will never be employed, most probably. But so you're putting your health at risk, and you're putting your career at risk, and you're not being professional. So these are very, very serious reasons. And I mean, honestly, guys, you can honestly ask yourself if you did something inappropriate, the day or 2 days before you had to teach a class, when you were feeling depressed or burnout. I think most people would say yes if they are completely honest with themselves.
Exactly. And I mean, people using these coping methods for their anxiety and stress, I mean, not just is it bad for your overall health, it affects your teaching quality, it affects the way you approach your life and your job and your own self-respect, because you're going to wake up and maybe you'll feel more tired and maybe you'll regret that you wasted time, you didn't prepare the class the way you should have. And during the class, I mean, this is why me and Val really emphasize preparation and why our channels are really geared toward helping teachers prep for their classes and be ready, because if you prep and you're ready, like with your PowerPoint,
the
with your
class
lesson
is going
plan,
to pretty much teach itself.
It's going to teach itself, and you're going to go in with a certain amount of confidence that the class is like airtight, like everything is well prepared. And even if you're feeling a little bit fatigued, you'll be able to hopefully still execute the class at a high level. But if you are using these other coping methods to deal with your anxiety, you're not going to go into the class well prepared. No, because you're going to have just all sorts of other things happening in your mind. You're not going to be focused. So I think you really is going to have on your overall health and the execution of your class. And so it's just so important to, like I said, recognize the signs and symptoms and deal with them before they come to a head.
Absolutely. And like I always say this, it's in my teaching philosophy statement, and I always always repeat it. Students learn much more from what you are and who you are than from what you teach. Because being a teacher is more than, I don't know, I can't really find an analogy. Like being teacher is always bigger than you are. So you have to, project confidence. You need to look well. You need to smell well, and you need to behave like a teacher. You need to speak like a teacher. Because little children, and maybe not even children, I mean like your students are going to mimic everything you do. They're going to parrot like your words, and they're going to follow you because like in many ways you are their role model.
Exactly. And one thing I wanted to add to that is that, I think, and I've even mentioned it to my students, I say to them, I'm not just your English teacher, I'm also just a teacher, and I want to help you develop into the best kind of person you can be. And that doesn't just have to do with English or whatever subject you're teaching. And I think the best way to teach people is through your own actions.
Yes.
And so, like he said, they're gonna look at you as a role model, and they're gonna look up to you, especially like if you're teaching an international setting where you're from a different country than the students.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna really look at you in a different light than they look at a lot of their other teachers. And so you want to be the best version of yourself. And the only way to be the best version of yourself is to take care of yourself.
Yes.
And, do all these things that are gonna make you healthy and able to execute your class in a way that is effective for your students and that puts you in the right light in their eyes. And I think it's so important to recognize that. I always tell the other teachers that, you're a representative of another country, or
you are the ambassador.
Yeah, it's like a cultural ambassador.
Yes.
And a lot of, not just in school, but in life in general, outside, people don't know where you're from, but they know you're not probably from where you're living.
Right.
So you're going to be a representative of that. And so it's not just in the classroom, it's in your in your teaching setting in the school and in your community. You need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself so that you can be the best possible role model and cultural ambassador for your country or for just other countries in the world.
Exactly. That's why it's really good to travel. It's good to visit other countries, live in other countries, because most people have no idea what it's like to live in a different country. And when you are in a different country, you represent your own country. People are going to judge your country based on your behavior, based on the way you speak, dress, walk, eat, everything,
A lot of generalizations. Will come from
regardless of where you're from. It works for any country.
And I think the students can feel this as well. And because they're small children, the impact on them can be like a lifelong impact. If you're a really good role model or someone they really respect, it could foster an interest in learning English or whatever you're teaching for the rest of their life.
Yes, of course.
And I still remember teachers that I had when I was young who I really respected, not just because of their teaching ability, but just how I felt about them in class, like how they projected their energy and like their personality, and if they seemed healthy and optimistic, you can feel that. And if you're tired, you lose some of that. If you feel frustrated or you're feeling fatigued, you lose some of that spark. And that could be crucial, for the long-term development of these children toward the subject you're teaching.
Yes. To prevent teacher burnout, it's important for educators to create a balanced life. One way to do this is by setting clear limits on work. For example, you could decide not to check emails after 6 p.m. Only grade papers until your favorite TV show starts. Or take Sundays completely off. Stick to the schedule you set for yourself to maintain a healthy balance. Another way to avoid burnout is by taking time off. Remember that weekends are meant for relaxation, hobbies, spending time with the loved ones, and simply unwinding. Make sure to have some dedicated time each weekend where you don't think about work at all. Aim to take a vacation each year, even if it's a staycation at home. Use that well-deserved time off to reconnect with friends, go on a date, or simply enjoy yourself without thinking about school.
So I think that, everyone may approach this in a little bit of a different way, but there's little things you can take from different strategies and apply them to your own life. Something that I know personally works for me is when I get done work and I'm finished everything, I want to just turn off.
Yes.
I got to focus on something else, whether it's reading or watching TV show, spending time with my wife, cooking, doing something where it has nothing to do with teaching, and I won't be reminded through that activity that I have to prepare something or that I have something else I need to do. I want to just totally switch off, and I set limits on that. So I tell myself when I get home, at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever it is, I'm just going to relax, and I don't have to feel guilty at all during that time that I'm not doing something. I know that I can do it the next day, and I'm not going to feel nervous or frustrated about that thing that I need to do. And one thing that I really believe in is exercise. I think that a lot of people think, exercise is just something you do to like lose weight or put on muscle or whatever. But for me, it's almost like meditation. I like to go for runs, and during these runs, I'm just totally switched off and just relaxing. And I'm not talking about going out and running really fast or running really hard, just going and like at a moderate effort and just relaxing and being alone with myself, or if you run with friends or whatever, and just allowing yourself to get the benefits of the exercise and to lower your stress and to feel centered and stuff like that. I think it's so crucial. I mean, it doesn't have to be running, it could be anything. Basketball, badminton, swimming, whatever it is that you like to do that is something that will be low stress, that you enjoy, is really gonna pay dividends for your overall health, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Yes.
What I found is that I actually, let's say I do have something I have to do the next day, or I need to prepare a class. I actually find that when I'm not thinking about it, good ideas come to me. Like when I'm relaxed, when I'm not focused on the stress of like, I gotta prepare this and that, or if I have started something in school and then I put it away and I don't think about it while I'm exercising, all of a sudden I'm like, that's a good idea. Some of the best classes that I've made, those ideas came to me while I was running or doing something else when I wasn't thinking about it. And I think that it's like incubation. The incubation phase of the creative process happens when you're not thinking about it at all. And I know I get this through exercise. It's so important.
I agree with you 100%, and I support it very much. For me, like I play badminton once a week, and yes, it is a form of meditation. This is where your mind turns off completely. And I like badminton because it's kind of strategic game. You move, and at the same time your mind is kind of involved because you got to think, where to land this birdie. So it also works for me. Also, I think the key point here is to find this off button, something that works for you. Like I remember when we used to go to Wuxi, when we used to drive to Wuxi all the way from Nanjing. That's like 1 hour and 30-minute drive. A lot of ideas came to us on the way because we talked non-stop. And I believe we created a lot of our lessons, demos on the way to Wuxi.
think it was a longer drive than that. I think it was
Maybe
like 2.5
hours.
hours or something.
Maybe 2 hours, yeah.
We definitely, like, through like conversations with each other, came up with a lot of ideas. And I think that that's something else that should be mentioned, is that you need to have a support group, you know, people around
Yes.
you who you can just talk to about, you know, your job and work and everything like that, so that if you're feeling frustrated, you don't bottle it up inside, you know, and other people are experiencing the same thing and they might have good advice for you. And so not holding it in, you know, is really important. And like I said, I cope with it through exercise, and I like to talk. So me and Val talk a lot about stuff like this, and you know, he'll come to me with issues, I'll go to him with issues, and it's been really important.
It's really important to vent. Exactly. You know, like, it's good to have a friend. You know, it doesn't have to be a family member. You know, it can be a friend, someone you can confide in, and you just vent. You just talk whatever you want. You know what they say? Friends are people you can tell everything, even the worst things about yourself, because they're not going to judge you, and that's what matters. You don't need someone who is going to judge you. But you just need to.
I think a really important thing to mention here is that, I don't know if you've noticed, but Val is a very optimistic person. And you need to find this type of optimistic person who's going to see a silver lining in problems and issues and approach them in a way to solve the problem, not to just complain about the problem. And it's okay to vent or whatever, but find someone who you think will look to help you, you know, in a way, like to put a positive spin on something, you know, to make you understand that this is bigger than just this little problem, or that this problem will pass, and it's just a challenge that you need to get through, and not something which should cause you to want to quit your job or something like this.
Yeah, I agree completely.
I think that now, like, especially during these last few years with everything that's happened in the world, especially teachers are feeling a lot of, like, a lack of support and a lot of frustration around their job, and knowing how to cope with this is so crucial, because you became a teacher most likely because you enjoyed it and you saw it as something positive in your life, helping students with something that you wanted to do, and you know, something gets in your way and then you feel like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. And I think that knowing that there's a way out, there's a way to cope with this in a way that's going to allow you to continue to be a productive teacher and not give up on the dream that you originally had. You know,
and also like, teaching is the most giving profession in the world. You always give and give and give and give parts of yourself to your students, but also don't forget that you need to have someone to take from. You know, if you have someone to talk to, you know, you will not be the one who's always giving it to other person. Then it's your time to recharge, it's your time to take it.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And I think that, you know, as teachers, the reward we get is great. You know, like, we don't do it for the money, right? We do it for our students and the creative process that we get from being teachers. And I know personally, when I'm tired or frustrated, actually, after I teach a class and it goes really well, I feel really, really good.
Yes.
Like, I feel so good that I'm like, I want that feeling again. And I think that once you remind yourself that seeing the progress of your students, knowing that what you're doing makes an impact. It's one of the
most rewarding experiences.
Exactly. It's like planting a seed.
Yeah.
You know, you see it growing, and then they're developing, and it's a very rewarding thing. You have to remind yourself of that, you know, that it's something which can be done in a really good way if you approach it with the right attitude. You know, and some people, like we said, we've managed teachers, and we've seen some of them get bogged down and frustrated, and they've come to us, and me and Val have always been very optimistic. You know, we listen to their complaints, and then we try to recommend some way to deal with the problem, and a lot of times, you know, it works. It's just it takes bravery on their part, you know, to admit or come to us and say that they need help.
Yes.
You know, or need to talk.
Yeah, and also, don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. It's okay to admit that you need help. Totally. I mean, reach out to people, because Believe me or not, a lot of people are willing to listen and are you. And maybe to end this, I'll say this: no matter how bad you feel, always repeat these two sentences as a mantra to yourself. It's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it just means it's not the end.
Val has said this to me many, many times.
Teaching is a rewarding but challenging job. It involves long hours and heavy workload, which can lead to teacher burnout. Teachers are usually high achievers who constantly strive for improvement. While these qualities are admirable, they can result in too much focus on perfection and not enough rest. In her book, The Weekend Effect, Katrina Onstad states, "We live in a cult of overwork, and being a workaholic is often celebrated as a virtue when it shouldn't be. It is important for teachers to remember that they are more than just their job. Even though teaching is a big part of their identity, they must also take care of other aspects of their lives that need attention and care. Please remember that."
Well, I think my final advice is that, know yourself and trust yourself. Everything's going to be all right if you recognize the signs and symptoms of teacher fatigue and know how to deal with them, and in your own way. Not everyone's the same, so just be positive and try to look at all challenges as something that are going to make you better. And that's the way that I know I approach everything, and I've learned that partly through Val. So that's my final advice.
Well, my final message, my final advice is be with your own people. Build up a community. And it doesn't have to be, the people around you. It can be an online community. There are lots of YouTube channels that we're subscribed to. Find the channel you're happy with, and stay motivated to live your life. And I really, really strongly recommend you to subscribe to Teacher Matt's channel so you get more content like we did today. And so you can learn to be a better teacher and to be a better version of yourself. Thank you for watching.